All right, one quarterback gang, we are back doing our absolute best to get you prepared for the 2024 Dynasty
That's
Rookie
right.
Draft. Today we'll be doing a 2-round rookie draft, PPR, no tight end premium, obviously one quarterback, and we will be using the landing spots from Draft Tech's mock draft, which was released on December 13th. So keep that in mind when you're watching this video. We will link the description down below. We didn't make the landing spots.
No.
Keep that in mind. We didn't make the
No.
landing spots, but we are drafting based off these landing spots. So I gave you the 101 last time. I'll go ahead and grab the 101 this time. And it feels like every mock draft that we look at, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a Arizona Cardinal, but he's going to be my 101 here. Makes no sense to go anywhere else in a one quarterback format.
Yeah.
Obviously generational talent. Linking up with Kyler Murray. We'll see what happens with Hollywood Brown and the rest, but it doesn't matter. This guy's going to be a top 5 Dynasty wide receiver the day he enters the NFL. So I'll take him here at the 101.
Yeah, no question about it. Let's not waste too much time on that one. Going in the first round, my wide receiver 2 in this in the rookie class. Malik Neighbors, he's going to the Denver Broncos. This is one of the new landing spots we've seen so far for Malik Neighbors. And look, this is this whole process of maybe Jerry Jeudy walking, Cortland Sutton also walking. This team needs to have a new weapons all around them. Obviously, they drafted Marvin Mims in the early second round last year with their first overall pick. If you guys remember that, Malik Neighbors easily comes in. Jerry Jeudy hasn't been the guy we were hoping and expecting, and Cortland Sutton has been a touchdown machine. Hopefully that's going to be Malik Neighbors now if they move on from Cortland. So this is one of the most exciting landing spots. He does fall to pick 16, which I think is a bit surprising. But still, it is a good landing spot.
Seems a little bit unrealistic to me. I think Malik is a lock for the top 10, if not the top 5, as crazy as that sounds, depending on where these tackles go. But, all right, so Malik Neighbors off the board. And I'll go with my wide receiver 3, who is the 12th overall pick. That is Rome Odunze. He goes to the Saints. So now he and Chris Olave are going to link up and be teammates. I think this will be a 1A, 1B type scenario. 12th overall pick. If I'm not mistaken, I think Chris Olave was actually the 12th overall pick as well in his draft. But this indicates to me that they're probably sticking with Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the most exciting quarterback play, but
Agreed.
We've seen some consistency. At least it's better than what they had before. So I'll take him there and bet on the talent in New Orleans.
Yeah, I would definitely agree there. My 4th wide receiver off this board at the 104, going to the Houston Texans, linking up not technically with his old college quarterback, but Emeka Egbuka going there with C.J. Stroud. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they actually played together. They did? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that was another quarterback. Maybe that was another quarterback I'm thinking of. Anyways.
2022, JSN went down and Buka put up some big stats. So
yeah, so there you go. Emeka, yes, that is correct. So anyways, Emeka Egbuka with CJ Stroud linking up with the chemistry there. Tanked out Emeka Egbuka. Once again, and Nico Collins, we had this conversation in our last mock draft, if I'm not mistaken. We were talking about what's going to happen. This is what scares me. A caliber talent like this in Emeka Egbuka that can play in the slot, specifically for Tank Dell, worries me in the way it's like, okay, do they want to continue with Tank Dell in the slot, or are they going to go with Emeka Egbuka, or are they going to be moving these guys around or have 2 elite slot wide receivers in this offense? But I like this landing spot for Emeka and CJ Stroud.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense there. Get them to link back up in H-Town. All right, I'm on the clock, and I think I'm going to go with Troy Franklin. He goes to the Kansas City Chiefs at the end of the first round. I'm not moving him up my board because he went to the Kansas City Chiefs, but this is about where he would be for me anyway. This is a prospect that people either really like or they really dislike. But I think he and Rashee Rice could be a really exciting combo. Now, my concern with Troy is there are some drop concerns, right, on film. And also, I think his drop percentage is well over 8% this year. So he definitely needs to clean that up. But this is an exciting player that could be attached to a very exciting quarterback. And even if this was a different team, I mean, let's say I'm just trying to throw out a team that's going to be into the first. I mean, it was the Bengals. I would draft him here. If it was, I'm trying to think of different teams. If it was the Rams, if it was the Colts, if it was the Browns, I'd probably draft him here. That's what I think about this player.
Sure, sure. Troy Franklin, great talent here, linking up with Patrick Mahomes here. I'm going to go with the tight end and Brock Bowers
Yeah.
at the 106. He goes to the Los Angeles Rams, not Chargers. He goes to the Rams this time. This one's a little bit different.
It's a bit strange, isn't it?
It is a bit strange because, longevity, I'm thinking of long-term perspective. Yeah, Matthew Stafford's probably going to walk. What's going to happen with Cooper Kupp? Puka Nacua is going to be there. But this kind of just leads me to believe that he is going to be either the number one target or the second target once Cooper Kupp is gone, right? You think of, is it going to be Puka or Brock Bowers in the number one target? Also, depending on that quarterback, depending on that head coach, this is a long-term investment in a dynasty perspective when you think of this tight end position. And if they get another quarterback in maybe 2025's draft or whatever the case may be, this could be a great, great landing spot for Brock Bowers.
Yeah, I don't hate the landing spot. Actually, I think Stafford's got some years left in him still. But you're right. It's just strange from the sense of like they just signed Tyler Higbee to a long-term deal. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting selection here by Draft Tech. All right, I am up on the clock. I think I have to make this pick. No, I don't want to disrespect the player, but I will take Keon Coleman here at the 107. He goes to the Buffalo Bills in the first round. Don't want to be disrespectful. Y'all know Badaki and I aren't huge fans of Keon Coleman, but you're linking up with Josh Allen, thinking about what Gabe Davis is doing for this team, but maybe to an even, better extent. Yeah. That could be really exciting for a name like Keon Coleman, but, just not a huge fan of him as a prospect. Look, I don't dislike him as a prospect. It's just like compared to where everyone else has him. Everyone else has him, top 5 in their wide receiver rankings. He's not there for me, but if he gets first round draft capital and he's going to be attached to Josh Allen, it's hard not to get excited about that.
No, I get you. Not an exciting prospect for us, but hey, anything can happen there with the Buffalo Bills. This is a player that hasn't gone in the first for us so far this year, but he does get the first round draft capital, top 20. It is a tight end. Jadavion Sanders goes to the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, We were talking in the likes of Dalton Kincaid, the Sam Laportas going to the Cincinnati Bengals last year. Yeah. Now it's Jadavion Sanders, I would say the second best tight end clearly in this draft outside of Brock Bowers. He goes in the first round here, and you think of the T. Higgins potentially moving on, Joe Burrow, that long-time contract in this team with Jamar Chase. If they move on from T. Higgins, Jadavion Sanders could be the second overall target in this offense as well. So this is very exciting here, especially with the first-round draft capital.
All right, I'm going to go with the only running back that was drafted in the first 2 rounds of this mock draft. That is Travion Henderson. He goes to the Packers. Who would have guessed? Of course, Travion is always on the Packers in these mock drafts. But he goes to the Packers with the 51st overall pick in the second round. This team, they need a new Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is not able to stay healthy. The running back age cliff, it waits for no man. And unfortunately, it looks like it might be there for Aaron Jones. But think about all the dynamic plays that Aaron Jones was able to give this offense over the years. I think Travion's going to give you something similar. Someone who's a very good pass catcher, great after the catch, but can also run in between the tackles and can handle the large portion of your rushing attack. So we'll take Travion Henderson there at the 109, the only running back in the second round of the NFL draft here.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. One of the second running backs here does fall to the third. We'll wait for that one. I'll see how long he is going to be available for. But in the second round, going to the Atlanta Falcons is Xavier Worthy. He does get a new quarterback in this mock draft. Yes. I'll wait and see if you do pick him, or maybe I'll pick him later on in this draft.
Sure.
But I do like the thought process of this new quarterback potentially coming in. Now, what number weapon is he? Is he, behind Drake London, behind Kyle Pitts, behind Bijan Robinson? I'm not sure. But with this new quarterback, I think this could bring new excitement, new life into this team with the Atlanta Falcons. So I'll take Xavier Worthy here.
So I think there's a lot of ways I could go here, but I think I'll probably go for a quarterback at this point. This is where I'll take Caleb Williams. There's definitely still positional names that I really love, but they don't have ideal landing spots or ideal draft capital. So I'm going to go with the first overall pick in the NFL draft here. Caleb Williams becomes a Chicago Bear, links up with DJ Moore, and that's an exciting combo thinking about the future there.
Yeah, completely agree. And I was gonna say this is this does happen in real life, in a one quarterback world, you can definitely take, a quarterback in the 109 to the 110. That's how
Yeah.
early it could be with these bad of a landing spots we have
Well,
in
yeah,
this mock drafts.
you guys will see some of these landing spots here coming up. They're not ideal.
They're
And
not ideal.
we always dream up, Badaki, of all these players that we absolutely love. We scout them, we fall in love with them, and we think about perfect landing spots and great draft capital.
Yeah.
And then the draft happens, and that's not always the case. Sometimes it's not good draft capital, it's bad landing spots. They're buried in a depth chart. So that's a little bit of what we're seeing here today.
Yeah, and I'm going to continue with the quarterback position here. I'm going to go Drake May. He does go to the New England Patriots with the second overall pick.
Yeah.
In this mock draft, it doesn't look like they get any wide receiver weapons. But look, maybe they get somebody in free agency. Is that a T. Higgins? Whatever the case may be, maybe, the New England Patriots could get a good weapon for Drake May coming in with maybe Bill Belichick or maybe not Bill Belichick. We'll wait and see.
Okay, so I'm kind of obsessed with this landing spot here. The Raiders get Jaden Daniels. Y'all know I love me some Jaden Daniels, but I mean, that is, in my opinion, a very good place to start your career with Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Michael Mayer. We'll see if Josh Jacobs is back, but a new head coach who believes in you, whoever that ends up being. They would have believed in him if they drafted him. And that's a very exciting pairing with all those weapons around him. I'll bet on Jaden Daniels, a guy who you guys know, for me personally, is battling with Drake May as the quarterback too in my Dynasty rankings for this class. Just thinking about the rushing upside, this is a guy who at some point in his career could lead the league in rushing at the quarterback position. That's how good of a rusher he is. Now, he's not a Lamar Jackson-esque type of rushing quarterback, but I mean,
Right.
who really is? Yeah, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that is one of one really outside of Michael Vick. So I'll take Jaden Daniels there at the 201, a guy that I've compared a lot to RG3, which is a very exciting prospect.
Yeah, love the Raiders in the landing spot there for Jaden Daniels. I'm going to go with another running back, and I think a lot of people are saying, where is this guy? What's happening?
Yeah.
Trey Benson goes in the third round. He goes to my beloved New York Giants.
Love me some Trey.
This is not the best draft capital, but the landing spot is intriguing. If they do draft a running back in the top 3 rounds, doesn't necessarily mean they're moving on from Saquon, but I'm gonna say in this narrative they move on from Saquon and they draft a running back in the top 3 rounds, especially someone like a Trey Benson going to the New York Giants. That's the kind of expectation that you're hoping for when you think of this in this mock draft as well. I'm pretty sure they do go an offensive lineman as well. But here, I'll take Trey Benson here at the 202.
Yeah, y'all know I love me some Trey Benson. If we were living in that reality, I would have made him a first round pick then. I was just thrown off a little bit by the Giants landing spot, but you're right. I mean, they could move on from Saquon.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, that team is not exactly competing for a playoff spot, so are they really in a position to pay a running back big time money? I'm not sure. We'll find out.
We'll wait and see.
All right. Speaking of terrible landing spots, a player that you and I love, Brian Thomas Jr. I'll take him at the 203, but I hate the landing spot. It's the Detroit Lions. And look, I'm not claiming that he's not going to be attached to a good quarterback and a good offense. The issue is you're not going to supersede Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're not going to supersede Sam Laporta. Jamison Williams is starting to kind of turn it on. Jahmyr Gibbs is getting a healthy amount of targets. As far as fantasy football, this makes sense for real life, but for fantasy football, it's like, where does the volume come from? There's only so many pieces of the pie that you can kind of have the leftover crumbs, if you will. So love the player, just don't love this landing spot. Amon-Ra is a long-term part of this team. Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, both long-term parts of this team. So it's not an ideal landing spot.
Yeah, and this is good exercise when we see these terrible landing spots as well, because this could be reality, right? Like, we could see the players that we love, like we saw last year, go to landing spots that just are terrible. We don't want that for fantasy, but it definitely could happen here. I'm just going to continue to punt. I'll be honest. I'd rather go with the quarterbacks here. Okay. Another first-round quarterback going in the top 12. That is Bo Nix, and he goes to Atlanta Falcons, somebody that I said was going to link up with Xavier Worthy. The tools and the pieces are there. Once again, you draft Xavier Worthy, you have Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. You have I would say top 5 elite talent on your team.
Yeah.
And you finally get a quarterback, and they have been switching back and forth with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke. Bo Nix could easily come in and be the starting quarterback in week 1 going into the 2024 season. So I'll take him here at the 204.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that landing spot for Bo Nix. Now, will he go in the first round? We'll have to wait and see. But in this exercise, he does end up being a first-round pick with the Falcons. And, y'all know that I was a big Brock Purdy guy this offseason. Told you to buy him everywhere. I mean, he is absolutely balling out. And Brock Purdy is a plus game manager. I've been trying to think of like a term for these guys. He's in a good system. He is benefiting from talent around him.
Right.
But he's not Jimmy G. He is a plus point guard, right? Yep, you're running the offense, but there are moments where you need to do more than manage the game, and you can do it. So I think he is a plus point guard. I would say the same thing for Bo Nix. I mean, Bo Nix, he could be the next Brock Purdy in this league. And with that amount of talent around him, a Bijan in the backfield like CMC, I think they're a similar level of talent. You've got Drake London. You've got now Xavier Worthy. Now you've got also Kyle Pitts, who is healthy in 2024. That could be very exciting if the right coaching staff is around him. So I really, really like that pick.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm up on the clock, and I'm going to go Adonai Mitchell here. He goes in the, I think, 53rd pick in the second round to the Colts.
Yeah.
Big fan of the player. I'm not exactly sure how he fits this offense if Michael Pittman is going to return. Yeah. We don't know if he will or not, but the reason he's fallen a little bit in this mock is specifically because if Michael Pittman's back, if Josh Downs is there, and we have Anthony Richardson throwing the ball, there's just some real questions on, again, like Brian Thomas, what sort of volume are you going to see? The Colts, I would say their weaponry is a little bit less solidified, but I would still have some serious concerns on exactly how he fits that offense for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, no, look, that definitely makes sense here. Oh, man, this is really tough.
Yes, these spots are not very fun to look at. I mean, this is like a worst-case scenario mock, I feel like we're running
100%. This is worst-case scenario. And look, sometimes you're just going to have to take your chance. And I'm going to see some bright side to some of these guys. And I'm going to go with somebody in the third round that we haven't drafted, we haven't spoken much about. Brendan Rice goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the third round. I'm not saying this is a complete narrative and a write-off of Calvin Ridley, but we haven't seen... Not saying it's not Calvin Ridley, right? It's maybe the offense he's in right now. He hasn't played in a long time. We just haven't seen that connection with him and Trevor Lawrence. He's still getting open, but they still need to pay him. And if I'm not mistaken, if they do pay him or have a contract for him, they need to give up a second round. Do they want to do that when they can get a second round talent like we've seen here? The Brian Thomases, the Adonai Mitchells. Obviously, they're not nowhere near Calvin Ridley. But maybe Brendan Rice can step into a good opportunity here. Maybe he can be a field stretcher or somebody that can develop into something. You have Parker Washington, who's kind of emerging, and somebody that I love in Christian Kirk here as well. Maybe Brendan Rice can be something in this offense in the third round.
I like that we're, putting a little spotlight on his name, but, it was funny because I was going to say, I actually have Parker Washington graded as a higher prospect than Brendan Rice, so that would be interesting to see them kind of battling out for volume. But I'm up on the clock here. I'm going to go running back. In the third round, the Ravens go Blake Corum, and, obviously you're taking a risk here because it feels like every running back in Baltimore gets injured, but I'll take Blake Corum. Talk about goal line merchants. This is what you and I keep hearing about Blake Corum. He is just a goal line merchant, which, by the way, I think that's unfair. I think he is a good football player, and there are many parts of his game that I like. I'm not saying he's a superstar, but I think he's a very well-rounded running back. And if you want to talk about goal line merchants in the NFL, how about Gus Edwards, huh? You ever seen a bigger goal line merchant this year? I mean, he is getting so many touchdowns and not the kind of volume you'd expect when you see his fantasy finish. So I think Blake Corum can do that and more. He is a plus Gus Edwards, different player, different size, but he's a plus Gus Edwards for that team. And I mean, I think he can carry the ball 15 times today if they asked him to.
Yeah, I can definitely easily see that without a doubt here. I'm going to go with one of your guys.
Okay.
Lad, the Space Creator. Now, he does go to the San Francisco 49ers in the third round. But once again, another narrative that, like, hey, we're going to talk this bad mock draft up. Brandon Ayuk is no longer on this team. You have Debo Samuel. We just talked about Brock Purdy being one of these great quarterbacks, system quarterbacks that can, we've seen produce fantasy relevant wide receivers. If Brandon Ayuk is going to leave this team and get some big money contract somewhere else, Lad, the space creator, is easily going to be the guy in the slot, maybe taking over that Brandon Ayuk role. So this is something that could be really exciting in the long term here, especially with Brock Purdy, Lad McConkey, and Debo Samuel there. So I'll take him here at the 208.
All right, I'm going to go Xavier Legette. Why is he falling so far? Well, because he goes to the Eagles. It is second round, so that's exciting. But
how do you get
you're not going to overtake A.J. Brown. You're not going to overtake Devonta Smith.
How do you work this guy in?
I don't think you're going to overtake even Dallas Goedert. So it's, again, these landing spots, some of them, I think whoever made this mock was like, how do I make the worst possible landing spots for fantasy? Let's make that mock. But that's what we're here to tell you guys today. It's not always rainbows and butterflies with these landing spots.
No, not at all. Not at all. A guy that we haven't really spoken about here, Jalen Polk, goes to the Chicago Bears here in the third round. This is an interesting landing spot because, once again, you get Caleb Williams, who does go to the Chicago Bears. We've seen, Darnell Mooney not really show up there. You have DJ Moore. Jalen Polk can bring something, but how big can he, how big of an impact can he make in this offense? He does get a third round draft capital, which is not terrible. I think it's better than what I'm personally expecting. So I'll take Jalen Polk here in the 211.
Okay, so I'd love to go Jalen McMillan here, but in this mock, they put him to the Steelers. Even worse, they put him in the 6th round. What are we doing, Draft Tech? What are we doing? I can't draft him. But there's still a first-round quarterback on the board. I mean, I think he should have gone off the board already. I'll take Michael Penix Jr. He goes to the Vikings in the first round, at the end of the first round. But, I mean, you now have a chance to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. I mean, that's jokes. That's absolute jokes. So I'll take Michael Penix there at the 211.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. There are a couple other people here that do get the opportunity. You know what? Let's finish off with the quarterback. Because he does go to your Washington Commanders. This is a whole new regime. He goes in the early second. If I'm not mistaken, that was the first pick.
Will Levis type treatment, if you will.
Will Levis type treatment. Hey, Will Levis showed some spirit.
Oh, no, I just mean from, where he was drafted in this draft.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought you meant, Will Levis treatment, he's not going to get the job and he's going to be... Anyways, J.J. McCarthy goes to the Washington Commanders here. Not the quarterback, maybe Zach was hoping for, but a quarterback overall, right? What is that going to look like for Sam Howell? What is this new head coach and front office is going to do with a quarterback? He is somebody that's going to be competing. And, hey, maybe if he does take the opportunity to surpass Sam Howell in some way or win the job with this new head coach and new regime, this could be a very interesting prospect without a doubt. We haven't really seen him get drafted in any of our latest mock drafts, in my personal opinion. So let's shine some light here at the 212.
Yeah, it's my personal opinion that if JJ is going to be projected as a second-round pick, I think he comes back to Michigan because he'll be in a much weaker class next year.
Sure.
And he'll probably be a first-round pick in the year after if he keeps improving. But he goes to Washington. It is, there's good weapons there, so you could spin a narrative. Names that didn't get drafted. Bucky Irvin, he went to the Cowboys in the 3rd. Definitely worthy of being drafted, I think.
Yep.
Will Shipley went to the Patriots in the 4th. Audric Esme went to the Cardinals in the 4th. Braylon Allen went to the Chargers in the 4th. That's exciting. Could also end up being the next Isaiah Spiller, Yeah. So you have to be a little bit concerned about that. Devin Neal went to the Falcons in the 4th. Jonathan Brooks is drafted, but again, I genuinely think Draft Tech's goal here was how do we make the worst landing spots possible for these guys? They put Jonathan Brooks to the 49ers in the 4th round. What are we supposed to do with that? Why would you bury my guy Jonathan Brooks in the 49ers depth chart?
How long does Christian McCaffrey have?
Doesn't look like slowing down anytime soon.
He doesn't look like he's slowing down.
Devontae Walker, they let slip to the 5th. Can't really draft him there. So, yeah, I mean, look, not ideal landing spots in this one, but this is the reality that we might have to face at some point. If if landing spots don't go the way that we want them to, or if players don't get the right draft capital. But that's it for today, guys. Do us a favor. Go ahead and smash that like button. By the way, important news. If you want access to our rookie scouting and ranking package, then go ahead and use our promo code LAND and sign up to the Flock Fantasy website. Make sure you choose the Mother Flocker tier. Right in front of you now is an example of what some of those profiles will look like. This is Marvin Harrison Jr. As you can see, our film grades. We watch 3 all-22 films for each player, and then we grade them out based off our scouting grades. You can see pro comps, projected draft capital, a prospect status, strengths, weaknesses. Eventually, we'll have the combine information on there, and that will complete a player score when we get athletic testing. But there is so much over there on the Flock Fantasy website. Again, use our promo code LAND. That profile is out there for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends.
Yep.
So go check it out. And we appreciate you guys. Drop a like, and we'll see you very soon. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy. Even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.